Hey everybody, I'm so glad you could join me for the Tool2Type workshop. This is the first in a series of videos that will supplement each lesson. There will be a lot of information and I'll have some annotations, so take your time and pause the video if you need to. So let's get started. I'll begin by opening the Glyphs app from the dock. I'll choose the Latin character set in the New Document panel. Make sure the Prepare Glyphs tab is on and select Basic to set up the simple alphabet as a base for your font. Click Create New Document. What you see is the main font window with the basic Latin character set you selected from the Create Document window. Double-clicking on a cell opens a new tab, and you can have multiple tabs open at the same time. Also, cell tabs are not limited to a single character. You can select multiple glyphs and open them in a tab. You'll discover later why that's important. Double-clicking on a cell allows you to edit that glyph. The images you see are simply templates for reference only. The glyphs are actually empty because I haven't yet begun creating. To the left of the main font window is the Categories panel. It helps you manage the cells. You can color code cells, select subsets of categories to view specific glyphs, and you can also add new characters based on those subsets. You'll learn more about all the category functions later. Before I go any further, I think I want to save this file. I'll just name it Rob's Font and save it on the desktop. You can search for specific characters. For example, I'll type a letter A and it will show me all the letters that have an A in the name. Likewise with the letter O. Notice here at the bottom, it tells you exactly how many letters you have selected in reference to the entire font. On the right side of the font window are other functions that we'll discuss at a later time. For now, let's take a look at what's inside each glyph cell. I'm going to steal the letter A from one of my previous fonts. I'll select all and copy. Now let's go back to our new font window and open the glyph cell A. You can see the template A in the bounding box. This box provides the boundaries of the image in the cell. More on that in a moment. When I paste the letter I just copied into the cell, notice the template has disappeared and now some of the parameters of the information has updated to reflect how the letter is sitting in the bounding box. I can move the whole letter around because all of the nodes have been selected. We'll talk about that more later. Notice the preview image at the bottom of your screen. As you edit, this preview will show you what the character looks like in real time. You can change the position of a character in the bounding box a couple of ways. You can move points or paths, as I just demonstrated, or you can change the numeric parameters inside the information box. Changing parameters in the panel affects how the image is configured in the bounding box. I think now is the perfect time to explain the bounding box more. The guides of the box represent the anatomy of the character, and this information is what is called metrics. The left and right side bearings tell that glyph how it will relate to other glyphs of the font. Each glyph will have different side bearing parameters depending on the image. The horizontal guides are probably what you guessed: the ascender, cap height, x height, base, and descender. These parameters are global throughout the entire font. They can be changed within the information panel for the entire font. The information panel of the font can be accessed by clicking the eye icon here. The font information panel is the mission control, so to speak, of the entire font, and I'll cover that at a later time. For now, I just want to show you a little bit how to edit in the glyph cell. At the top of the cell are the editing tools. The Select tool is, well, for selecting things. There's a pen tool used for drawing paths, and a knife for cutting, obviously. You can draw with the pencil tool. By the way, I never use it. You can make shapes and perform transformations like rotating and scaling. I mentioned earlier why having more than one glyph in a tab can be important. This typing tool is great for being able to see how your font is working with regard to spacing and kerning. While I'm on the subject, let me quickly go back to my other font and show how the typing tool works inside the glyph cell. Not only can I type text here, I can also paste text to get a feel for the texture of the font. I'm using the keyboard to zoom in and out, and the space key to move the image for better viewing. Notice the text in the preview window. There are a couple of helpful features like inverting the preview or blurring the text to see if there's any space or heavy spots that need to be addressed. By now you're probably itching to start seeing your hand lettering work in a font. But before we transfer our work into glyphs, it's important to understand how to draw paths with the pen tool. There's a great resource at glyphsapp.com that covers what I'm about to show you. Using the pen tool is all about clicking and dragging with your mouse to create vector paths. If you're familiar with drawing vectors in Adobe Illustrator, this won't be new to you, although the execution of how the tool works is slightly different and, in my opinion, much easier to use. I'm going to jump to the letter B and do some drawing with the pen. This is going to be really crude because my intent is to show you how the tool works and I'm not really worried about how it looks. I'm placing nodes or points to create a path around the outside of the letter. By clicking and dragging, I can create what's called Bezier control points, what I call handlebars. If I click and drag while I'm holding the Option key, it allows me to create a corner point. Every path should be closed off where it started. Shapes of paths are altered with the Select tool by clicking and dragging on nodes or handlebars. Before we move on to learning how to transfer our own lettering into glyphs, I've prepared a practice exercise for you, so you can get a feel for how to use the tools. Take some time to practice, and we'll continue this first lesson once you've completed the exercise. In part 2 of this lesson, we'll learn how to transfer our work into the glyph cells and use what we've learned about the tools to edit them.